like, I want that. And, like, just to go so into depth about like what's in front of you, like that.
What is a normie? Normie versus alcoholic. This is Stacy and I'm Jazz. She is a normie and I am an alcoholic addict. Can you tell me what you think a normie is?
I think a normie is someone that can have a drink, maybe someone that wants a drink, or wants something, but doesn't need something. That would probably be my very black and white, interpretation of it. Very
and
simple.
That's probably what a lot of people think. And it is kind of like, I think, and maybe a normie can be an alcoholic. Like, do you think if you drank enough, you could be a drinker like me?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I love the drink. I had to go to rehab too.
I don't love the drink.
Right, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So it might be a difference.
Yeah, like we're going to talk about the differences here. So welcome to No Veil Recovery. This is an episode basically talking about normies and versus alcoholics, addicts. And the normie, like if there was a drink in front of us right now, I might have a different experience than you. Like my experience would be, I would have to fight not drinking that drink or not. I would have to not think about it. Okay, wait, back up. If I was not in a healthy space as a recovering alcoholic, it would be hard for me. But because I'm pretty secure in my recovery, it would be fine. But there was a time in my recovery where it wasn't fine. I really had to be careful. And when I was in active addiction, I couldn't not touch the drink.
And
that's what I'm trying to say.
And you had to work really hard at not touching the drink.
Right. And if I saw it, I was thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I was dreaming about it, daydreaming about it.
Yeah. So that would not be my experience.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a drink in front of me at any point in my life, I would not need to touch it.
Yeah, I find that so mind-boggling.
And I find your perspective mind-boggling. And I find that, it's just something I've never experienced myself. The need to be I want that. And just to go so into depth about what's in front of you, like that.
To give it even that much thought.
Yeah. It's something that I've never experienced with, really any sort of substance at all.
Right.
It's just something I don't even think about. So it's not even a thought process for me as a normie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, major thought process for me.
Yeah.
I don't think that I was always going to be an alcoholic. I do think I hit a point of no return. And so I think life caught up with me and I had unhealthy coping mechanisms and eventually my addiction took over and substance abuse took over and I ended up in a treatment center, thank God, because it was a life and death situation at that point, which sometimes that's what it takes for an alcoholic to actually change.
Like a rock bottom, you mean?
Yeah, so that was my bottom. So I don't think that not everybody is going to be an alcoholic that is an alcoholic. I think that they're made in a way. Mm-hmm. And I also think that, but also a normie is just like a normie. It's like, if you're going to have kids or not, if you're straight or not, it's something you know, you've always had this knowing, or just not attached to substance abuse, not attached to needing that.
Yeah. And being attached to other things.
Right.
But not a substance. In the what we think about when we hear addict, drugs, alcohol. When you hear the word addict, you usually think drugs or alcohol.
Right.
You don't always think of the other things that, an alcoholic or even a normie might seek.
Right.
That isn't drugs or alcohol.
Yeah. You're not immune to other kinds of forms of addiction that are more,
or distraction or disassociation in life, things like that, type A personality, right? Work in an office 9 to 5, 3 kids, busy, there's things that sometimes even as a normie I would seek outside of the bubble that make me feel detached from reality. If that, phones are a big one. I work on a computer all day. I work on my phone all day. And it's hard to sever that string when I get home.
Yes, it's a battle.
Yeah, even as a normie, if you will, I'm not picking up a drink, I'm not doing drugs, but I do have to consciously say, I'm going to put my phone down. I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to spend time with my kids and my family. I'm going to be present. And that's hard for me. So yeah, maybe if there's a drink in front of me, I won't pick it up. But if there's a phone in front of me dinging, I got a problem. So that's something I have to work on myself. So, so I mean, maybe there is a bit of a difference. Maybe there's not as much of a difference as we might think.
Right. It's just a different mask, a different hat.
However, I feel like society has become made the phone thing acceptable. Almost like it's acceptable, whereas drugs and alcohol aren't as accepted.
Well, it's funny because they say that alcohol is very accepted in our society, but you can't be an alcoholic.
But then wild?
Everything gears towards being an alcoholic. Drink to have fun, drink on vacation, drink when you get married.
Special occasions, yeah.
Everything is do everything with a drink.
You need a drink to have fun and celebrate.
Right. Everyone takes pictures with oh, I have my drink, right? And it's but what are you when you do that activity without that? For just a whole month, just drop it off.
I guess you're a normie.
Well, if it doesn't affect you, I think that could be a really good test that you're probably a normie. I know you as a normie, and there's someone else in my family that's a normie, and they back when I was in active addiction, I had to plan all of my things with alcohol, and this other person that I know, they just do go camping without alcohol. They don't even think about it. Yeah. So it isn't really something that you have to incorporate all the time or think about. And one of the things that I love about being sober is that I don't need that with me anymore. So but good. I used to need it. I used to want it. I used to think I couldn't live without it. And that was the great lie. And then when I got sober, it was oh my God, it's way better than being an alcoholic.
When you feel good too.
Yeah.
Physically feel good. And that's actually a big reason why a lot of the times if we go camping or do anything, even we're on a ball team, I don't drink while I'm doing that because it honestly makes me just feel not good physically. So I don't have to drink. I don't want to drink, and I don't. It's just, and it doesn't bother me. Everyone else around me is doing it because it's fun, and like you were saying, it just seems like everything in society is gotta have a drink to have a good time. I don't. So yeah. So everyone else is having their beer or whatever, and I'm just drinking all my water, or sometimes I'll have a Coke Zero, but that's
right.
That's it. So.
Yeah, and we're not going to change anyone else's drinking. People that drink, you drink, whatever. But if
you do you.
Yeah. This isn't trying to convince people not to drink. It's just that there is a difference between someone that thinks about it a lot, has to manage it, and that can compound into addiction because it's progressive. And then there's just people that it doesn't affect as much.
And just to be clear for the viewers, I do drink.
Yes.
Right? It's not that I don't. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
We have drank together.
We have, yes. So I do.
In the past.
But again, I can have a sip of wine. I can have a glass of wine, and that's where it ends.
Right. And then I would go and drink the rest of that wine if you left the wine there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I was the kind of drinker that would stay up past the time that everybody drank. I'd have drinks stored, and as it got closer to the end of my addiction, I only had to get more and hide more as I kept going along my drinking journey. And it got to a point where I needed it in the morning because I needed to calm my nerves. I needed to get settled. I needed it maybe just a few drinks before I go out for the day. Like, it's became such a necessity, and that necessity is like creating a jail. And in sobriety, it's just, I want to be free of everything. Like, I just don't want anything attached to me. Like, healthy attachment and dependency with good people in good ways, but like I'm very mindful of like I've had to cut out a lot of things in my life, but I've wanted to, because I get this taste of freedom, and I want more of the freedom. That's what I've noticed in my recovery, of like 5 years down the road of just like, I've given up pop and working on giving up sugar. And because I kind of started like I started my recovery from sobriety and I stuck with it, it made the other things that I've wanted to quit in my life easier in a way, because that's like, I already have this, like, I trust myself that I can give up booze. And then like when I came to give up like pop, it was like, I'm giving it up. And then I just, slammed down to step one. And
having known you for a long time, you giving up the booze, that's like major. That was a huge part of your life from what I know. And so if you can do that, I could see how these other things would be like easier, especially if you've like built the foundation to give up something like alcoholism, like alcohol, and then take those same values and teachings and everything you've learned and put them into something else that you want to change, right? So yeah. Right. And having known you and like your sharing with your channel and everything, and just talking to you, like you sharing what you've learned has also helped me look at ways, like even the phone or like other things that being reactive to things that are like so silly. Like me, I've talked to you about my red light problem. Like I get a red light. I'm like, why do I always get red lights? It's like a trigger. But in reality, I don't actually I have time. Like, there's nothing I can do about this red light. There's nothing I can do. And like, my son was in the back seat one time and I got a little frustrated with the red light. And he's like, well, we could just take a break. And it just totally changed my perspective. Like, let's just take a break and look around. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, this little kid is just like telling me to like stop and smell the roses for a minute. Like, this red light's not going to, the powers of my anger are not going to change this red light to green. So just like being reminded to sit. But anyway, so the things that you have taught have kind of made me more aware of like simple things, everyday life that have caused a reaction. That is something that like, okay, I'm going to take a step back, take a few deep breaths. And kind of follow the program work you've been doing. Even though I'm not in a 12-step program, I've learned a lot from you and from watching content like this, like of how to implement it in just everyday life as a normie. You don't have to be an alcoholic or an addict to use this program. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I love what you said about kids are so good at bringing you back into the moment. And reactions, I like that you brought up reactions, because reactions is like that surface level. Like, it's like the question to ask is like, why am I reacting? Right? Because the reaction is just a symptom of something that's happening. And then to get to the root of the why of it, there's something else going on, right? And we're not immune of reactions. Reactions are a signal that tell us something. But it is helpful to get emotionally regulated. And then like recovery is a lot about just like emotionally regulating and then figuring out what your reactions are, getting a hold of yourself, right? I used to be a person that freaked out a lot too about traffic. Why is the light red all the time? I know, right? I get a lot of green lights. Yeah, right? Whenever maybe I just need to manifest that into the universe. I need to like send it out. Like, I'm going to get all the green lights. Right. Or at least make my brain believe they're green, even if they're red. But I'll still stop. Right. What if you just started to only notice green lights? Yeah, right? It's just a shift of perspective. Right. I'm working on it. Yeah. And it goes back to like the serenity, right? Like I cannot change this. Why am I trying to control a red light when I clearly cannot change it?
Right. And that's the thing, right? Is like attaching to wanting something the way the world is. I want the world to be like that. And then that's where you get that like tug of war of like, I can't get what I want. And then it's like, I'm mad, I'm impatient because those lights are changing the way I don't like them to. Right?
Throwing off my day.
Yeah.
That I have expected my day to go.
Yeah, and people, that's so common though, right?
Yeah.
Like, your story is common.
I know. Yeah. You hear it all the time, right? So
I think it's like this just sounds silly. It's an acceptance thing, right? It's an acceptance of like, well, I'm going to get there at the time I'm going to get there. And like taking a second to pause and look at the reality and like how kids bring you in the moment. It's like, I have to bring myself down into the moment sometimes too when I'm going too far over here. Like, why did this happen this way? Like, I'm attaching to something instead of like, let it be, let it come in. And then what am I going to do when that thing arrives?
Well, and then to have that awareness to be able to do that is key, right?
And awareness is the first sign of growth. So anyone that's like thinking of changing or inspired to change, that awareness will show up and it'll feel itchy. You know?
The wild thing is though, is that before my red light experiences, I do plan on having red light. So I leave the house like 20 minutes earlier. I've already planned for this. So why am I still getting upset when the light turns red? Like, I've already planned for the red lights.
Right.
So it's just something I have to work on. And that's like a really simple example. Because you're right.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. A lot of people I think are like, I'm going to be late. But I'm not going to be late. I've given myself 20 extra minutes.
Yes.
Right? I'm not going to be late. I've already made the solution. I've already solved the problem. But my brain still wants to believe that I am going to be late because the light's red.
Wow.
I know. It probably goes deeper.
That's so interesting. I know. I want to ask more questions. I don't think this is a good idea.
Next time.
Like, I think there's something else going on.
Maybe it's just maybe like like you, when you have that reaction, like you were saying, you like look at what else is going on. Maybe it's just because I have something about someone being late in my life or not showing up the way
there could be
I needed them to show up, or you know, who knows? There could be something deep in there that is from being young and someone not being on time, or
totally,
who knows, right?
Totally.
Somewhere in there, maybe it'll surface one day, but
yeah, because like reactions essentially can be like, you know, triggers in a way, and it's like a strong feeling towards something. And I think when those strong feelings last a long time, it's from way back in your past, or it's a deeper trigger to something. Like, it's not just cause, it comes from somewhere. There's so much more meaning behind it.
Well, and we've talked about this before too, and it could come from, you know, in my job, I have to schedule, I have to like, people have to be on time, things kind of have to flow the way they flow. But it could be from some sort of trauma that I experienced about someone not respecting my time. And then I feel a need to respect other people's time, almost to like a default.
Balancing it out.
Yeah.
From something there, you're balancing,
you know, like
in
when
the present.
someone's late.
Right.
How that makes you feel about your own time being wasted.
Oh God, I'm so triggered when people are late.
I know, too. Right? So see? So maybe I am too, but from my perspective of, I don't want to be late for that person because I know how it makes me feel when someone's late for me. Right? Anyway, it can go pretty deep.
Okay.
It can go pretty deep.
Yeah, I think I'm going to touch on that.
Yeah, there's a connection there, right?
I know. There's so many connections. Like, I dealt with that a lot when I was younger, with people being late or not showing up. And I remember feeling very devastated. And what happened is I carried that into my adult years. And I used to actually be that for a long time. Late, don't care, other people's problem, they can deal with me. You know, kind of selfish, kind of alcoholic. And it wasn't until recovery where I really started working. I don't want to be late anymore, because I didn't like it, because I was facing a reality in my sobriety. Today, I like to be very punctual, because of that same thing that you just said, that I don't like when other people are late. You know, like there's a connection there from somewhere. It's not just on its own.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how like the day to day, like the more you talk about things, like the more like breakthroughs you have. And then you start to think like, oh, like when I was like 6 years old, like this happened. And then you're like, how is it manifesting now that I'm like, you know, almost 40? And it just comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that my recovery has helped you in some ways.
Yeah.
I'm always gabbing to you about it.
Yeah. Well, as a normie, right? Like, that's what I mean is like, you can be a normie and still just live that way.
And you're not immune to addictive ways.
No perfection or at all.
Yeah,
you know, like, I mean, it's different than being addicted to a substance, but in a way it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me, like, I didn't start drinking till I was 21. So I kind of got through like the high school years, but I had an inkling that when I like to do something, I like to do it a lot. And I didn't like putting the brakes on stuff. I like pushing past limits. I kind of knew that about myself as a young person. But one thing that also was interesting was like, I was always told I was, you know, because of being like Indigenous and stuff, that I had to be careful. I'll probably be an alcoholic, you know. So I kind of had that belief I was told that for a long time. And then, you know, I didn't have the best health, wasn't taught the best healthy, like, I'm not going to get into this too much because I have talked about it before. But basically, when I decided to press the F-it button at 21, I think I just had wanted to try a different way. And I cut God out. I cut out caring what other people thought, and I just went on this like selfish rampage
to feel good.
Yeah, maybe to feel good. And from 21 to 34, I just drank and drugged and I basically chose a self-defeating lifestyle. And I paid the price for many years, for many mistakes. I did a lot of hard living in that time frame. And I got into a treatment center about the age of 34. And so life had really caught up to me then. But it's hard to say if like my life, I do think it's possible I could have had a chance to have a similar life to you without substance abuse. My life did go the way that it went. But I do think that it's really possible to help children, you know, not threaten them or say that you're going to be this, but to almost give awareness, like we're both mothers, to give awareness that like your will and what you choose is very strong, and some things that you choose have grave consequences, and that the thing is like that if you like what I would tell my kids, like I tell them I go to meetings and I show them that I'm a really like healthy person and I'm very consistent, and so I'm very open with them about my alcoholism. I say, yeah, mommy's an alcoholic, I go to meetings. But when they get to like a more of a older age, I will probably share with them like, if you choose that, and if you keep choosing that, you know, the road to addiction is hard to come back from. Like, it's almost irreversible. And being someone that's in the rooms and being someone that's gone through a treatment center, most people do not get out alive or get out fully recovered. Maybe they stay dry drunk. It is a struggle. And like being someone that is in recovery from addiction, because I have gone past the point of no return, I always have to do recovery till I die.
And you know that.
And I know that.
Well, and like we know people that have actually done the steps, like almost to the and have still not come out the other side.
It's true. I love that you brought that up, because just because you do 12 steps and you put in 20
or have
years,
gone to a facility or
a facility or a few times doesn't actually mean you're recovering or recovered. You might get some status and attention, but recovery isn't based off of time and what you do on paper. It's how you change internally and how that your soul is now transmuting back out to the world. Like,
yeah, so it's not like the quantity, it's the quality.
Totally.
So you could be 20 years without a drink, but still fully in your behaviors.
Yeah.
Or you could be, 5 years and you're completely aware of all the behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Like, so 2 people with 5 years could have completely different recoveries, be at different spots.
And we've seen that with people we know and, different experiences.
Yeah, and it's not to, like, shame people, I guess. Like, it's just to point out the fact that, like, everyone is on their own road. But you do really get what you put in. And I think there just is this misconception that, like, if you have 30 years, like, you are, like, glorified.
Cured.
Right, but you're not cured. And I think that under some of those, And
you know that. That's why you say, like what you've said, that's like, that you need to always be in recovery.
Yeah, always be in recovery, working a healthy recovery. And I think maybe the point I'm trying to make is that there is unhealthy recovery. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Well, because it's everyone's on their own journey, right? No one can do it for you.
No.
Or us, or like no one can do it. Like, no, that's why I think it's so hard to see loved ones go through it, because it's like you want so bad to help them and to do it, but if they don't want help, it's hard. Like, just support, love, and sometimes that's all you can do until they decide it's time for, change.
Yeah. And I think it's impossible to make someone aware. I think it is a self-discovery thing where you have to seek and want to look, and discover.
Yeah, you can plant seeds. You can try and plant seeds, but until it clicks.
Yeah, like trying to reach someone that doesn't want to be reached or know, trying to make someone aware. And I've done it because I'm codependent and I've had to, like, work on that. But it's such a waste of energy and time, because that person can only really get there unless they want to get there. If they want to look and seek and be more aware. Like, and speaking of my own experience, like, it's just been, like, I say since the beginning, okay, I'll do this, I learned the steps, did the steps, and then it's just been this entire time, it's just been like effort and seeking, showing up,
Consistency, yeah. So I mean, like, as a normie, I think I do have, like, a little bit of a deeper perspective of it, just because of what we've talked about. So yeah, I mean, and as someone that loves, I have people I know that are still in active addiction that can't get out of it, and the last thing I want to do as a normie loving person is leave them in the dust. But at the same time, it's you gotta be healthy for yourself as well, and hope that person can see the light one day and comes back.
Right. And there's a thing in AA or whatever, not supposed to say, but there's a thing where you say the hand of AA is there if you reach out, and that's such a good thing to remember. It's like, unless that person is asking for the help, wanting it, then that's kind of the signal that, like, they're not ready to look and they're not ready to see that until they want to make that move. And this is a matter of opinion too. Like maybe there are people that, like, actually listened and got better, but mostly you can only be aware if you want to be aware. And that's the thing, is, like, I know people in active addiction as well, and I want to help and change them and help them and show them the way, but there's nothing I can do unless they want to do it.
And especially knowing what it's you know, hard. It's hard. It would be hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like a turning point for me at the end of my addiction was kind of like, you know what? Yeah, no one's coming. No one. I have to be the one to be like, okay, I think I have a drinking problem and I gotta go away.
No one's coming.
And like my family just let me continue and everybody let me continue and didn't say anything to me until I had to say to myself that like, yeah,
it's an issue.
I will die if I don't stop.
Yeah.
And face that. And yeah. You know, it's good to ask for help if, you know, like it's asking for help. It's scary. I was very scared, you know,
like
because alcohol was all the safety.
And like you said, it takes one person to help, you know, that you feel safe enough to ask for help.
Yeah, I started with one person. I said, I'm just going to tell. I had one little goal. I was like, I'm just going to tell one person.
See what happens.
Confidential.
Like, test the waters a little bit. See how safe you were.
Yeah. I did not know that thought that day was going to change the rest of my life.
Wow. It's like one decision.
It started with a thought and a decision and
just a toe in the water.
Yeah, that's it, right? It's like, maybe that's the thing is like when you're in active addiction, you're like, oh my God, I can't get sober. How will I be okay? How will I cope? How will I live? How will I lose all my friends, lose all this stuff? Like it's very overwhelming because you think that all this stuff has to be done in the first day. The thing is like, it's just about like, who can I talk to? Do I believe this about myself? Do I want different? Do I have a desire that maybe I want to try to change? I just don't know how. I can admit that I don't know how. I don't have this anymore.
Well, and then it compounds more if you have like you're in a stable job or you have young children that you have to like.
It's a lot to weigh.
It's a lot. Right? It's a lot to leave behind in order. Except for that's what the thing is, that you're not leaving anything behind. You're actually building a future. You didn't, you didn't leave anything behind. Like, it's.
And that can only be seen and felt after you've gotten sober for a little while, right? Like, so there's like a phase of like not feeling like it's working and it's too hard, this can't be for a long time. And then I think later on, as you actually are like, say sober for 6 months to a year, you start going, okay, like I didn't die. And maybe this is better, right? Yeah. Like the realization comes later, which is like
and
crazy.
You've talked about this before, so I feel comfortable saying it, but your kids aren't gonna remember that. They're gonna know a healthy, loving, stable, nurturing mother, like they're not gonna know that stuff. They that's just
I know.
You left nothing behind. It was just a blip in time, right? For them.
And at the time it felt like eternity. Like a day, my first day without drinking felt like eternity. Yeah. It's a time warp when you're first getting out of addiction. It's a reality warp. It's taken me almost 5 years to get grounded.
Yeah. And do you look back now and think like that was just a blip in time for all you have now? Right?
I know, even 5 years now feels like a blip in time.
Yeah, not to say it wasn't hard and you don't remember how hard it was and like how difficult it was to, get started and everything. But now looking back, it's like what you have now compared to that little amount, that time that you thought was going to be really big. It's like now you look back and it's a small little, huge, important part, but
so
time-wise,
yeah.
Like a few,
Yeah. So grateful.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think we're going to end there. Yeah. Any last words?
No, but thanks for having me.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll have me again.
For being here, Stacy. Mother of 3, Normy.
Yeah.
And mother of 4, addict alcoholic. We're in recovery and loving it.
But all friends here.
Yes, all friends. So thank you for being here, and we will see you at the next one.